Hey, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Pre-IPO Stocks podcast. With me, I got Clint Sorensen, Chief Investment Officer at Wells Shield. It's an outsourced CIO and investment research company. Nick Busco, CEO of PIP Insights, a pre-IPO stock secondary market pricing company, and Evan Cohen, founder and Chief Operating Officer of WithVincent.com. It's a media company focused on alternative investments. And I'm Aaron Dillon, and I do venture capital stuff. So, okay, Klarna. Fellas, Klarna's coming in hot. IPO. Are you ready? I think this is the biggest IPO that we've had in a very long time, right? I'll throw some stats out there for you, but basically my gut is like, you guys think that this is like a buy once it goes public, right? So I know non-investment advice, right? But let's just kick it around. All right, so $2.8 billion in 2024 revenue. That's up 23% versus last year, 2023. $21 million in net income, up 108%. $105 billion in gross merchandise volume, which is like how much was transacted to their platform, 98% increase, 93 million active customers, 675 merchants. They just won. It just got announced right before we got on the thing here. They just announced Walmart is switching from a firm, one of their competitors, to them, to Klarna. That's a big deal, right? They got it. I got them at a $10.5 billion secondary market valuation. That's up 57% from their July 2022 round. And then real quick, so who's going to make all the money here? So Sequoia was in the Series A. That was 2010. Valuation wasn't disclosed. DST Global was Series B, 2011. That's like 14 years ago. This is 15 years ago. They got in at $1 billion, okay, DST Global. Visa got in 2015 at $2.25 billion. But here's the kicker. So in 2021, they did a round at $31 billion. So there's got to be some pref stack stuff there because I think they're rumored to be going at 15 in the market. And then SoftBank got in 2022 at 45. So there's got to be some dilution, right, for the current investors in this thing from those two rounds. I don't know how much they pulled in. I could go back and look. But what do you guys think of this company, Klarna? It's a consumer credit and kind of online payments company. And how do you guys think it will be received? Fintech company in the public markets, right? So I don't know, Nick, let's start with you, man. What do you think?
Sure. So I came at this a little bit statistically as well. So you rattled off a lot of things that were nice and chunky there. And we did this back in February, but we compared it to MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and a little bit less so to Affirm, but I think that's the key one here.
Yeah.
So my first response when you shot across the topics was, what do you want to do, long or short Klarna? And I was actually just thinking, no, I probably want to short Affirm. You know, competitions abound now. We can see that, Affirm has definitely some really good growth, right? They have better gross margin, but they're not profitable. They're losing money. So right. You kind of have two very different setups here. Klarna, we know, has been really cost conscious, which is a really positive thing. And then they do better on the credit losses. So I think if there's a bet to be had for, is this a technology, buy now, pay later, that is going to be around for a long time? And I think it is. It's sticky. You mentioned that this is not a young company that's been around for 2 years and is launching with a 15+ billion valuation. But yeah. I would say if they came out at like a 15,
that's the rumor, right?
It actually sounds somewhat attractive. If they come out more at the top end of the range that they were talking about last month, which is around a 20, they're like a 50% premium above where we're seeing it. So we're seeing it between the 10.5 and the 12.
Got it. All right. So Clint, like Klarna has been pretty vocal about how they've used AI to cut costs, right? And that's kind of shown up. And then Nick highlighted that too, and it's comparison to Affirm. I mean, does that make the company more attractive to you, that they're so heavy into AI and implementing it across its entire business? Does that make it more interesting or maybe a premium on the valuation?
Absolutely. I don't know about a premium, but it makes it more interesting, right? I think there's a lot of things at work here within the overall market which are concerning for Klarna, not because of its business. I think its business is solid. I think it's continuing to make improvements. I think its growth rate, as you see, grown over 48% since 2022 through 2024, making huge strides from an efficiency perspective and a margin expansion perspective, right? I want businesses that are expanding margins and growing. Right, so from a business, it's doing a great job, but you've got a major global refinancing occurring in the U.S. and liquidity trends are quite challenging. So I think timing is somewhat concerning for it to hit the top level of its valuation. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. It would be a great win if it was to play out in these with this liquidity backdrop and be a successful win. I think Klarna is probably in the best position to do so, based on interest from investors, based on its trajectory, based on its accomplishments, frankly. So, but it is a challenging macro backdrop. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out.
Okay, gotcha. And then Evan, you're like my resident fintech expert here on the pod, right? So talk to me about, like, what do you think about these guys, their product, right? Like this buy now, pay later product. They do a lot of payments. A lot of folks don't know that. They just do a lot of like straight up payments, right? But what do you think of Klarna, just their product offering and how it's positioned in the market?
I think that when they first launched, it was certainly novel and innovative, and I believe now, like, there's been several other players in the market. As you know, Nick mentioned, we have a firm in the public markets which is pretty much a direct competitor in a lot of different business lines. What's interesting for Klarna is the number of monthly active users they have, which I think they're close to 100 million now, which presents a lot of opportunity for revenue expansion into other financial services products. They're also a European brand, so where there is much more comfort around fintech and innovation and digital payments. So there's a lot of opportunity for them to expand into market share where Monzo and Revolut have taken share in those brands, which we've talked about in this pod before. So from a fintech perspective, I think, one, like, if you're investing in this company, you're investing in the trend, the buy now, pay later, the belief that credit scores are somewhat obsolete. There's a new paradigm for risk assessment and purchasing large or even small ticket items and having, payments roll through that way. I think that trend is here to stay. I think it'll be competitive. I think it could be a race to the bottom in terms of commoditization. On the opposite side of what Clint said, though, while we head into a potentially recessionary market, a product like this could actually have a lot of value because customers might feel the pinch on spend. They might want to, have payments
like
drawn
lending,
out longer.
More credit.
Yeah, they might want short-term lending. They might not, the vacation that they were going to drop $2,000 on last year, or the new sofa they were looking to buy, they might want to finance because maybe the cash flow is tighter. So it is an interesting from the IPO macro perspective. It's a little bit risky, but from the business model perspective, it's actually quite interesting. So I think both of those narratives will play into what price they come out. I do believe we have a pretty good comp, though, from a firm. So as an investor, I'm more of like a wait and see approach on this sort of stuff.
Got it. Yeah, I know fintech's been an interesting category in the pre-IPO stock market. Like, it got beat up pretty bad here over the last couple of years and hasn't quite rebounded. I mean, AI is the new darling, right? Where fintech was the darling like a couple of years back, right? I do like the product, though. I got to tell you, I like buy now, pay later much better than consumer credit cards. So the interest rate's lower, or there's no interest, right? And you still get the flow.
Well, it's hidden, right? It's embedded there that you're paying 97. The merchant is paying 97%. The merchant, getting paid 97% or thereabouts, and then Klarna's picking up the 3.
See, so I like that, though, right now. And now to your point, that might kind of pull through on the cost of the good that you're buying, I suppose, right? But I mean, that's a much better value proposition for a customer, I think, than putting something on a credit. Like, if you're not going to pay off your credit card in full at the end of the month, right?
Right.
This is a better, I think, option for that. But a lot of people hate this stuff, this buy now, pay later stuff.
So, and it's interesting because I'm curious what Evan's thought is here. Two of the big holds from Warren Buffett, and I'm headed out there in a month and a half, which would be nice, going to Omaha.
Cool.
Were MasterCard, right, and FICO, so Fair Isaac Company.
Yep.
And if credit scores are becoming obsolete, I don't think that's the case. Like, I'm very curious, Evan, why you think that might be the case, or if this is part of the bet, because everyone's kind of getting charged the same way with Klarna. Because I think those are long-term trends to.
Interesting, because I thought I read a tweet over the weekend that said that Buffett was potentially selling some of his stake in those two entities as a hedge against it. So I think it does play into that. Yes. So I agree. I mean, look, we're entering a new paradigm in the government efficiency, in the government administration. And I believe that there's a tech forward bent happening in Washington, D.C. right now. And this is definitely an antiquated technology. Everyone's social security numbers have already been leaked online. I think that the credit scoring system is pretty old. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to, if you're talking about reinventing and making things more efficient, this is certainly one area where it could be pretty beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, buy now, pay later has been around since like what, the 60s, the 50s, the 60s, right? I mean, almost like went away because you can just buy things with a credit card, so you don't have to put it on layaway and come back later. You know what I mean? All this stuff. So like, I don't know. It's like full circle. It's a better idea. It's just a better. It's better for consumers, right?
Are you thinking
I have big prospects.
Because the buy now, pay later, I remember when we were kids, was buy a $400 TV. And then you pay the merchant 100
installments. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. But this is centralizing that.
Yeah, I think it's centralizing it. I think it's bringing it to more goods and services. Like, I think I don't know. I kind of like to think I moonlight a little bit in the fintech world. This is like a better customer value proposition that I think it's unlocked because of technology.
Right. And I think there's room to run. If you guys said there were, Evan, you said there are 100 million active users, which is massive. But the merchants, Aaron, you shot me a note. You said there were 675,000 merchants,
that's right.
But that's versus 90 million on MasterCard and 150 million on Visa.
Right.
So there's room to run on this.
Yeah, I like the whole space. Like, I think Affirm, Afterpay, which is Block, owned by Block, right, and then Klarna. I think that whole group, it's like high tides raise all boats with those guys, right? So I'm like cautiously optimistic. I don't know. I like the price action around right after an IPO. I don't know. It makes me always a little nervous, right? But it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But all right, let's talk. So fellas, we haven't done like a personal kind of gut check on AI use. I do that kind of every month or so with everyone. We haven't done it in a while, so I wanted to do it here. Like, Clint, I know you and I talk a lot, right? And you're using AI more than me, which I'm not proud to say that out loud, but you're using AI more than me. What are you, how are you using AI right now, either personally or in your business? And then I got a whole bunch of questions for you guys. Maybe I'll just go around the horn and see how everyone's kind of using it today, but go ahead, let it rip.
Yes, I use XAI/Grok for pretty much search now. So quick searches, really easy stuff. I use ChatGPT Pro for almost all of my business related functions. So that whether that be drafting my weekly market commentary, where I'll just put in the bullet points, have it drafted, and then you can edit it right there within the tool, which is pretty profound. For me, it saves me a tremendous amount of time a week. Whether it be doing due diligence, so where essentially due diligence reports. So a lot of the help it's given me is saving me time on drafting things. So I look at it as like this super powered word processor and research assistant. And I'm talking about ChatGPT Pro specifically there. So when I do due diligence on things, we got to do a ton of deep search on the industry, the market. You got to do a ton of search on the old fund docs. You got to load all that in. You've got to pretty much look at everything, carve out your investment thesis. I put my old data and information in there in terms of the key themes we want to focus on for the year. Then it helps me draft out the investment memo. And it's not flawless, right? But it saves me a tremendous amount of time in the initial rough draft phase. And then I go back through and make my edits, and then I send it back through to edit it grammatically, and then it's ready to roll.
So that's like consistent. You're like every day. You're an everyday guy.
Every day.
With that kind of OpenAI Pro.
It saved me hiring an analyst. Not to mention the Python code it does for me is tremendous. It's just unbelievable. So I'll take data, and now I can take data. So like conference boards, like a lot of our systems are built off conference board leading and coincident economic indicators. I can literally take that in, send the CSV file to ChatGPT Pro, and then I can do all of my plotting for my market reports from a graphical perspective. I can plot MACD indicators. I can plot all the rate of change I need to analyze. I can put regimes in there and have it plot that for visual purposes. It's insane. So also taking spreadsheets of financial data and loading it in and having it analyze certain trends that I want to track, or converting some raw data into some percentage-based data so I can track trends from a percentage-based perspective. A lot of things I would have had an analyst do before.
Right.
It does it faster and frankly with less error than I've had in the past. No knock on my analysts out there. Love you guys, but it's pretty crazy. And when there's going to be when these agents get released, I guarantee I'm going to pay for one.
Pull the trigger. Okay, that's interesting. Evan, go ahead. I got a whole bunch of questions for you, Clint, but go ahead. Evan, go ahead. Round the horn, babe.
I mean, I use it every day as well. I personally use Grok as my like day-to-day replacement for Google search. At some of our like personal things, personal research projects, things like that. And then I use Claude. I think Sonnet 3.7 is pretty insane. It's awesome. I find it to be really great for like the primary use case I use it for within work is like thought distillation. So I provided a lot of context. I provided legal documents. I provided requirements, product requirements, compliance rules, things I'm thinking about, concerns I have, and then I debate with it. And I say, hey, like if I did this, do you think this would be risky? Like what are the considerations I need to think about? And it really is like a thought partner for me. I think of it kind of like if you had like a personal general counsel. Like I don't know if you guys watch Game of Thrones, but like the hand of the king. It's like the hand of the king. It like knows everything. It's aware. It's kind of like your insider, and you can ask it. And you can be honest with it and be like, hey, like these are my real concerns. Like I'm losing sleep at night because of this. What should I think about? And it can really be thoughtful about that stuff. So I find it to be really valuable for that tool. And then Grok. Yeah, I use Grok on the personal side because a lot of my personal stuff is like searching the internet. Say, hey, like what's the best ticket? What's the best price for a Clippers game ticket or something like that?
Got it. Okay, so OpenAI and Grok then for you as well?
No, Claude and Grok.
Oh, Claude and Grok.
Yeah,
Claude.
Sonnet 3.7.
Okay, got it. Okay, Nick, what do you got? Man?
Yeah, we've never touched Claude. Probably should. You know, the way you've brought it up several times over.
Yeah, you should.
I'll go complimentary to what the guys had said, not just to not be terribly redundant. But we have started to look at Cursor and had one of our advisors come in, suggest that, and then one of my close friends that's been programming for almost 20 years, and he said this
$10
is
billion valuation,
absolute game changer. The way he compared it to the other LLMs that helped him code, he's like, these are BS. Like I've been at this far too long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That much of a difference?
And so that's where I want to bring up kind of where we observe certain things are. It's all about the data behind the scenes, because you can ask the exact same three questions to the three different LLMs and you get three different results. So I think that's a big deal. The debate aspect that Evan's bringing up, the fact that Clint's going to pay for an AI agent, now it's just how do we get that model tuned up with the data that we need. So some of the things that we're experimenting with in-house are, loading our own our own company-wide information into the repository that could be then fed out to the end customer when they make the request. So I think it's very much not just the LLM itself, the model itself, but really the data that's being fed into it. And that's why like the Reddit valuation took a tear, in my opinion. That's it.
Yeah, I'm using it for research for sure. I would say qualitative research, not quantitative research on my end yet. So pulling in a lot of like public market information, publicly available information on these like pre-IPO stock companies, and then summarize news and the like, and putting it together. I still don't feel like I'm using it as much as I should. You know what I mean? Like I'm reading about all these different things that are happening out in the market, and I'm like, man, if I probably just took like 2 weeks and just dove in, I could probably figure this out, or hired a developer, which is probably a smarter thing to do. Like hired a developer and be like, I have these like 5 use cases. Can you digitize those for me or automate them for me? I haven't got there yet, but I would say this though. Okay, this is the real kicker. Would you agree that most Americans have no idea and don't really use AI at all? Like your average American.
Directly. Right? Well, I'll agree directly, but I will say they are using it without even knowing they're using it. When they're doing a Google search, now there's a certain like magic dust of Gemini in there. When you log into QuickBooks, there's some horrible aspect of AI embedded into QuickBooks, but it's not in your face. That's how I
Got it.
think. So I think you're
It
right.
is interesting.
And where
I
they're
have
using
heard
it, they
people
might
say
not
that,
know.
Nick. I have heard people say that where they're like go onto Google and they're like, I don't even have to scroll anymore. The answer is just right there at the top. And they don't, to your point, they don't know that that's like Gemini, right? But that's a very good point. I mean, what do you guys think, Clint? Kevin, what do you guys think? Most Americans use this stuff. They don't use it. They have no idea.
I don't think they have a clue, and I don't think they have a clue what's coming and how
Yeah.
truly deflationary this is going to be for white collar jobs primarily.
Yeah, that's true.
It's profound. As you know, I think as you've heard everybody say, right? We're talking about coding and development. Right. We're talking about legal work. We're talking about financial analysis. The agents are going to be complete game changers.
Right.
And I don't think people realize, not only do they not use the tool, I don't think they realize how profound the implications of this tool being rolled out across corporations is going to be.
Okay, Evan, what do you think?
I think that it's more than nobody that is using it. I actually think that there's probably a decent percentage of Americans that have actually used it, and maybe even using it in a quasi general way. And I'll give you the example. I was with my 7-year-old dad this weekend, and he's not very tech savvy, but he uses ChatGPT maybe once a month, once every couple of weeks to do something like at work, or he throws an email in there. He's looking up a movie or something like that. So I think that I think you're getting a little bit more usage from the general public, but I think that usage is probably scratching 1% or 0.25% of the potential that there is out there. Most people are using it to the full potential. Even someone like you, Aaron, who's using it, probably daily or very, very regularly, still probably utilizing only a small percentage of its real true value.
That's how I feel.
So there's a lot to uncover there, I think.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Okay, here's the 800-pound gorilla question. We'll end on this, because Nick has to go. He's got a very important.
Throw me under the bus.
So here's where I'm at. I have an iPhone. They haven't flipped on AI on that thing yet. I can tell it's not reading my emails. It's not reading my texts. It's not going in and looking at all my app data or internet search data. It's not like the AI hasn't been unleashed. Because, it's like AI assistant stuff. If there was a perfect company to have AI assistant, it's Apple. Like, they could know everything about me. It could prompt me and tell me to do things proactively. It could there's a whole bunch of different applications, right? But they haven't done that yet.
Terrible.
Siri's terrible. But it's supposed to be open AI, or they're going to do that soon, or something's going to happen. When is that going to happen? Google, same thing. Gmail, Google Drive, YouTube, we put these pods on YouTube, right? They have all this data that I have.
Microsoft with ChatGPT, what's up with Outlook? Why aren't my emails being completely scrubbed, screened, and have a virtual assistant right there answering them for me?
So is it because these companies are super spooked that if they do flip it on, everyone's going to be like, whoa? Because to your point, Clint, I don't think people really understand what this is either. So all of a sudden, that magic switch got flipped, and it was the AI is talking to you like it knows everything about you, because it would, right? That would probably scare. I would think that would probably scare your average person, right? They wouldn't know what they were kind of agreeing to when they checked that box, right? Is that why it hasn't happened yet?
I don't think so. I think that it hasn't happened because these companies have such a high bar of building products that are supposed to delight people. And if they roll something out that is half baked or doesn't work really well, the negative downside of rolling something weak is way worse than the pot. They rolled something and it's just okay. It's going to hurt them. It has to either be a home run or it's a total dud.
So you think that the reason that Apple hasn't flipped the switch and let the AI look at everything on my phone yet is because they haven't figured out from a product side how to actually make that work properly? That's
my gut. Yeah, my gut.
Okay. All right.
And maybe he's onto something there when you look at what you compare Cursor to within Microsoft would be Copilot. And if Copilot doesn't hold a candle to Cursor, this thing that came out of the nowhere, and I forget if it was rumored that this is true, it's a couple early college kids from MIT produced this thing.
Yeah.
And they're beating out Microsoft. It's outrageous. So
it is interesting.
It's hard to untangle that web of these massive companies and figure out how to use that data appropriately. But you can't say Facebook haven't completely figured it out. I don't even use Facebook, and I'm seldom on Instagram at this point. But when I get served an ad, they know when I need tires for my car. They just
Fair
know.
point.
I'm like,
fair point.
how
AI,
is this possible? They know. So I think some companies are just so far ahead of that curve, and it's really going to come down to when you get that email that says your privacy policy has changed, and then one of them, that will be the game changer.
I just don't know why. Like, why hasn't I can't quite figure out why, like, an OpenAI or an XAI or one of these companies are just like, hey, log in to all of your email provider, your cloud provider, your text provider. That's text provider is not a thing, but I guess you could do like, I was going to say WeChat, WhatsApp, right, and all your other kind of communications providers, and like they could pull all that in. I mean, they don't even have that option. I mean, I know with OpenAI, you can link into your Google Drive, but it doesn't like actively store all of that data at OpenAI and like search on it and use that to come up with ideas. You have to literally like push a piece of information to it, and then it will like use that in an analysis, right?
Yeah, and just food for thought on that, Aaron, to consider is that these companies have hundreds, if not billions, of users. And so for them to slurp in all of the data into an AI model for it to not be used is expensive, right? Like they're better off making the tools self-service and only running the models on data when the client requests it or the user requests it, because it's expensive. Like I have 15 different Gmail accounts. The last thing that Google wants to do is like look through all my junk email accounts and spend AI energy on that. It's a waste of money.
This is stuff like that's something I would pay for. Like if someone came to me and said, turn on AI, like I already know AI is powerful, right? But turn on the AI, we're going to take in all of your personal data and then we're going to use that and either train on it or use it. I mean, I'm kind of getting to the point, I would say a year ago, I would have been like, hard no. I don't want everyone to see all my stuff. Hard no. But now I'm kind of circling around to it's happening. It's going to happen.
Tell me how much easier you're going to make this.
Yeah, right. Like if this thing can literally like, talk to me all day long and tell me what to do. And hey, you forgot to call this person back. You should call them. And like, like if all of that stuff's possible, like, I mean, I'm there, fellas. I want that. Right. So like, yo, dude, coming. It's your dad's birthday this week. Like send him, or how about it's your dad's birthday next week? How about you send him a present? You know
or it automatically using operators. It gives you 3 options. You select and then it sends it.
Yeah, and it's like listening to my phone call, so he knows like what he talked about 3 weeks ago that he wanted the sandwich or something. It's like, okay, like buy that. We suggest this.
Goodbye, virtual assistant industry, right?
I mean, come on, man. That's awesome. I want that.
Goodbye privacy.
No, but like you see what I'm saying? Like
the problem is we've been operating under the illusion that we have that.
That's okay, fair enough. Yeah. But that's I feel like that's how our whole lives work now. At 44 years old, I feel like it's been, to Clint's point, it's been an ever-going just like level of comfort with not having any privacy anymore. Right. So like you started off with like, I don't want anyone to know anything about me. And then like social media hits, you're like, oh, but everybody's on this social media thing. So maybe I'll post some stuff up there too. And then you kind of do that. And you're like, oh, now everybody knows what I'm doing all the time. Okay. It's like, and then next thing you know, you're like there, and it's just, everybody knows almost everything about you. I mean, it's like, and to your point, Evan, even everyone has my social security number now. Right. So what's the difference? It's like,
it's kind of true.
Kind of just like, let's go. Like if it's happening, let's just do it. I'm ready, So, all right. Anyway, that was a little bit of a right field one, but
there's a sandwich in the mail going to someone right now.
That's right.
That's right.
I think I'm doing a developer. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on a developer and see what I can automate. I think it's time, because to Clint's point too, the agents are coming, and once the agents are there, then I think you got to have you got to hire a developer to like agentify your life, your business. You know what I mean?
think the agent will be the developer.
Yeah, you could probably have the agent build it for you. You don't even have to hire a developer. You probably do it yourself.
I just got to get over that hump of like understanding how to.
This is the application layer that I think is going to be the most profound. I talked to a VC over the weekend, and they're building them. Is these no code, low code platforms that plug into your choice LLM, and then it just drag and drop whatever you want to build, and it builds it right there for you. And I know this is not a recommendation because I've never played with them, but I saw a lot of apps built on this Replit with XAI, where they're taking XAI and Replit and literally with low code, no code, building a game in 30 seconds, right? Total development time being about 5 minutes to get a game launched on a web-based application. You're sitting there playing the old bricks or whatever. Right. I think that's a huge application for AI is going to be these platforms that are no code platforms. I still think maybe you don't need to hire a developer.
Just wait a little bit.
Get the agent.
Aaron, although my biggest takeaway from hearing you talk today, Aaron, is patience. All this stuff's going to come in the next 12 to 24 months.
But that's why I haven't done it, Evan, because I've been like a year ago, I was like, oh man, there's like all these guys. I should do something with the APIs. And instead I'm like, but we'll just wait because it's going to come. I'm just wondering if it's just going to be like.
And cost is going to tank. Right?
Yeah, every 12
the highest
months,
price you're going to pay for it is now.
But I could probably get a lot of value. Like you got a positive ROI on it. I could probably get a positive ROI on it. So why not do it?
I just paid for the Pro. I'm just buying the most expensive model that's out there and then trying to make it work for me. Yeah.
That's that. All right. Okay. Let's end it. All right. Nick, have some fun today with the family, buddy. All right, man.
See you, Nick.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
Cheers, guys.